Soldiers speak out. We can tell the truth of what we've seen. We are not liars. Soldiers speak out. We have a duty to all children and to their futures.
Welcome to the Veterans Hour, a monthly program by the Veterans for Peace, Chapter 109, the Rachel Corrie chapter in Olympia, Washington. We have monthly programs of interest to veterans and to the community at large. And tonight, we have a very special program, and that is dealing with the whole area of veterans going back to school, going back to college. And I want to welcome our guest, Randy Kelly, who is the director for the Evergreen Veterans Service Center. I believe that is correct?
Correct. Veterans Resource Center.
Veterans Resource Center, and that's truly what it is there. And one of the things that I want our veterans to know is, in addition to the benefits as far as medical benefits, they have educational benefits that they've earned, particularly under the GI Bill, which we now call the Post 9/11. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that Post 9/11 GI Bill? Because many of us, you can tell from the color of my hair, that wasn't quite the same program that we had.
That's right. The program that we were under was the old Montgomery GI Bill.
Yes.
And it's still in existence. And those people who are eligible for the Post 9/11 are also eligible for the Montgomery GI Bill.
For both?
For both. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that when you are in the service, one of the things you have to do is decide which one of those you want to use. Now, if you choose to use the Montgomery GI Bill, you get it for 36 months.
Yes.
That's provided that you've had at least 2 years of service. And then you can apply for the Post 9/11 and get an additional 12 months for a total of 48 months. Now, a lot of people don't realize that, and if you're going for a master's degree, that's important.
That is.
Because if you choose the Post 9/11 first, you have to waive your rights to the Chapter 30 or the Montgomery GI Bill. So you've got to make a conscious decision as to which one of those you want to use. So the Post 9/11 was designed specifically to help veterans that were coming back from the OEF, OIF.
The Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right, those two conflicts. And it provides $4,000 a month in tuition directly paid to the school. The veteran don't even have to worry about that.
So that GI Bill, they don't see that money coming through, it just goes right into pay the bill there.
Right, it goes straight to the college. And the college literally bills. One of my jobs as what's called a school certifying official is to tell the VA what they owe us, up to $4,000. And then they send the veteran directly a check for about $1,446 for living expenses.
So we want to make sure that our viewing audience catches this. It's not only the tuition, but there's some living expenses, and that's $1,440.
$1,446 a month.
So depending on how frugal they are, they might be able to survive on that.
And if it's a single service member and they want to live in the dorms, that'll more than pay for their dorm room, and provide them with a meal plan.
And that is a check that comes or is deposited into their account monthly then?
Right, directly into the veteran's account. And then on top of that, they get an additional $1,000 for books and supplies.
Well, and as a retired professor, I know how expensive books can be, because they can be anywhere from $45 to $100+ just for books, or more.
Yeah, $1,000 is not a lot of money for books.
Doesn't cover it all the time there. But what we're trying to tell our viewing audience is that the Post 9/11 GI Bill really can help them return to college.
Oh, absolutely.
Or start college for the first time.
Right, and a lot of our veterans coming out of the service are first-time college. They are the first members of their family to ever have attended college. And so this is a wonderful opportunity. I don't know about yourself, but I know me, if it wasn't for the GI Bill, I mean, I would not have the education I have today.
No, likewise.
Yeah,
I was the first one to go to college in the family.
And same in my family, and it was a godsend. And this generation now has the same opportunity ahead of them. And I think it's critical, I think it's absolutely critical that this generation get a good education, because they are the ones that's going to lead this nation. And they have the opportunity, and all they have to do is use it. And all they have to do is be aware that they've got this and use it. And the other thing they need to be aware of too is that if you're using the Montgomery GI Bill, you only got 10 years to use it. And you know as well as I do how fast 10 years goes.
Yes,
once you get out of the service,
and then it's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
15 for the post 9/11. So you need to think about, am I going to go to school? And if you have things you need to do once you get out of the service, you still need to keep in the back of your mind, that doesn't mean you've got till the 15th year to start that. It means that you have to have it finished
within that 15-year
within that
window.
15-year.
Well, and that was bringing up something, Randy, that I was quite interested on, is the readiness of people to switch from being the warrior to the academic, of being the soldier or the airman or the Navy personnel to becoming an academic. And for those that have experienced conflict firsthand, that have had some traumatic experiences, that can be a bit challenging based on sometimes the hidden wounds of war, as we call them.
Well, absolutely. You know as well as I do, in war there are no such things as unwounded soldiers.
Yes.
They all have a wound of some
Everyone
kind.
comes back changed.
Correct.
Yes.
And Evergreen has taken that into account. Not just physical wounds. The whole campus is accessible. We have a division that is called Assistive Technology, that is designed to help people with not only physical but learning challenges, mental challenges, and TBI, traumatic brain injury.
Yes, which is the signature wound now of at least Afghanistan and probably Iraq as well.
Absolutely. And so we have set up to integrate that into the curriculum for those veterans that need that. And we also have a course that we designed specifically for veterans called Veterans Next Mission, Bridging the Gap Between Military and Education. And it is a course that is taught by a veteran, a former military veteran. He was a Navy SEAL in Vietnam. And he teaches this course, and it helps students transition from military into the education. But not only that, it also teaches them about the skills that they gained in the military and how those skills can be used in education, but not just in education, but in the corporate world too. So when they get
transferable skills.
Right, when they get out and get a job, they're going to be able to use these skills too. And to make them understand that those skills are valuable, because a lot of people come out of the military and they think, well, everybody knows this, everybody does this. And they don't understand that, no, not everybody does this, and these are highly sought after skills, and they have to be taught.
Well, and some of those, Randy, they say, well, my MOS was 13 Delta. I can't go around blowing up everything in the civilian thing. Maybe I don't have transferable skills. But if they were E5, E6, E7 enlisted, they have other skills. And how can they get credit for their military education or their military experiences so that they don't start off with 0 credits working towards to get that baccalaureate degree?
Well, that is one thing that Evergreen specializes in. And I will tell you right now, I've been to a lot of universities and colleges around the nation, and I have seen none that do it as well as Evergreen. Excuse me. We are a member of a thing called the Servicemen's Opportunity Colleges. And as a result of that, one of the things we agree to is that we agree that we will look at a military transcript, and everybody has a military transcript. And when you were in and I were in, military transcripts didn't exist.
No.
I mean, if you could get your paper together and prove to somebody that you did something, that was good. Well, now the military has gotten smart. They document everything you do while you're on active duty. if you went to a leadership course, if you went to an actual course, if you took a correspondence course, you name it, they put it on record while you're in the military. So when you get out, you can go to a site called the Joint Transcript Service, or JST, or Joint Services Transcript Service, JSTS, and you can order that transcript. Well, when we get that transcript at Evergreen, one of the things we agreed to do was, if ACE says this course is worth 3 college credits, we have agreed we will accept those 3 college credits for that. If ACE says this course has not been evaluated as to what its credit is, ACE will provide you with a, for lack of a better word, a test or an evaluation form that you can actually evaluate the person on what they learned in that particular course, so you can give them what credit you feel is necessary for that. So we've had some people get as high as 90, 97 credits.
Credits, yeah.
And you know, when you say 97 credits, you're halfway to a bachelor's.
Yes.
So it's...
And that's saying the credits transferred, you're not paying for that tuition.
That's right. There's no cost to transfer those credits. So
it's technically possible for the veteran coming to Evergreen with a lot of experience of both experience and education while they're in the service to get that recognized. Absolutely. And become not a freshman, which they thought they might be, but they could be well into their sophomore, almost junior year.
Absolutely. They could very well be.
And then they can use that post 9/11 to complete their baccalaureate and
on into a master's even. And a lot of them do that, especially senior enlisted who are coming out. And you know as well as I do, unfortunately, given the economy and the way that we've been trimming down the services, we have a lot of people that leave at mid-career, and some of them not voluntarily. And they need to know that, hey, you know, you can go back to school and you're going to have a lot of your schooling already done. And it's a bargain here. This is, you know, this is a state school, and what the GI Bill pays for tuition will more than satisfy an in-state tuition rate here.
It may be worth the time of the veteran to become a resident before moving into that then, just because of the difference between
absolutely. But there are programs that help make up that difference too.
Yes.
Okay, one of them is called the Yellow Ribbon Program, and that's run by the VA. And the Yellow Ribbon Program says that if the college agrees to be a member of it, and we have, that the VA will match what the college pays for that after the in-state tuition to the out-of-state tuition. So the GI Bill pays $4,000 per quarter. So let's say it's $6,000 tuition. That leaves $2,000 unanswered. Well, if the college agrees to pay half of that, $1,000, the VA will pay the other half. And we have 8 yellow ribbon slots. It's competitive, and each quarter you apply for the yellow ribbon. And we have met almost everybody that has applied for it has gotten it. And that's going to go away very soon, though, because if you've been listening to what's happening in Congress, they're going to mandate that any veteran can go to any state school at in-state rates. And they're doing that because they want to get rid of the yellow ribbon program is what they want to do. And that's on the congressional floor right now, so that it won't be long before that happens. And then when that happens, of course, anybody can go to any school at state rates.
As an accredited independent VA claims agent, Randy, I've come across people that would like to go to college, but we have helped them file for benefits where they are now 100% disabled. What options are there for them or their significant others or family when it comes to college?
Well, as far as being 100% disabled, the VA has nothing right now on the books for tuition, straight tuition for that. Now, they are eligible for what's called Chapter 31, which is vocational rehabilitation funds.
Yes.
And that's for college too. It's not just for community college or trades. It's also for 4 years.
So is there some Chapter 31 going on at Evergreen? I know there is at the community college.
Oh, absolutely. We have, I think, about 29 people on Chapter 31 right now.
So they can take the welding, some of the other type of courses that might be there?
They can take a regular work towards a bachelor's degree using Chapter 31. It's not restricted to a trade.
Well, and one of the things that I've appreciated about the Chapter 31 is that they help you with the job placement.
Oh, absolutely.
And if there's not a job after you finish the training, they'll reset the shot clock and off you go again.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that has its benefits.
Right. Now, if you're 100% disabled, one of the other things that the VA has set up, or actually the state of Washington has set up, this is not VA, is that we have 100% tuition waiver for those dependents and spouses, both of veterans who are 100% disabled, so, or have been killed in action. So they pay no tuition.
And you said, and dependents.
And dependents. So your child, and we've had one case we've had at Evergreen where a mother and child of a veteran who had been killed were going to school, no tuition.
No tuition.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing benefit that
is. For the state of Washington, I mean, that's, to do that is quite a benefit to veterans.
Now, I'm enrolled in the college. I've just been out of the service for maybe 6 months, and I'm noticing that I'm having some cognitive issues, and I'm thinking it's probably related to my experience in the service. Mm-hmm. I come to your office, the Veterans Services, and what is it that you're going to do to recommend that, you know, that I can survive in this academic environment where I have short-term memory loss or whatever?
Well, we have several things that we have in place for veterans who have either PTSD or TBI, traumatic brain injury, or just other issues that may be that they brought with them before they were even in the service. And we have assistive technology lab that will set up technology that will help them. We'll even assign note takers for people who can't focus long enough to take notes. We'll assign somebody to help them actually take the notes for them.
Oh, really?
We have tutors. We have a writing center that will sit down with people and help them understand how to write. And a lot of people come in, quite frankly, they're scared to death of two things when they come into college and they haven't been there, either haven't been there or they've been out of school for so long, is they're scared to death about writing and they're scared to death about math. Mm-hmm. Those two things scare everybody. So we have things set up to slowly, gradually pick them up and get them moving in that direction. And that course I mentioned about the bridge in between, that is a course that concentrates on that too.
And everyone can take that and they get college credit for that course too.
It's a 4-credit course and it's part of the curriculum. And so,
is that offered every term then? Because you get new veterans coming in?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Tell me what a typical veteran who comes in and says, hey, I'm looking at going to Evergreen and I'm a veteran, I believe I'm eligible. Walk me through what a typical response or day would be for your office.
Well, the way I have been trying to set it up with the college right now is that when they hit the admissions office, they walk up to the admissions desk and say, I'm interested in coming to Evergreen. One of the questions they ask them is, are you a veteran? And if they say yes, then they stop at that point and bring them right over to my office. So they walk in, they say, look, I want to go to school and I'm a veteran. And I say, okay, what service were you in? I get a bunch of information from them. And then I say, do you have a DD-214 with you? And I look at their DD-214 and we talk about Chapter 30 versus Chapter 33. Do you have a rated disability? If it's above 20%, you also have Chapter 31 available.
Correct.
So let's talk about what is the most judicious use of those three. You know, do you want to start on 30, move to 33, move to 31? You know, so we talk about that sort of thing. And oftentimes they have to leave and come back after having thought about it and given it, you know, some thought. Then I will talk to them about, I'll tell them about what's available on campus, assistive technology. We have counselors there that are VA trained counselors. We have a medical facility there. I mean, they don't do surgery or anything, but they can help people. We have virtually anything that they could need, we have on campus. And what I want the veterans to understand at Evergreen, and I want anybody that is thinking about going to college to understand about Evergreen, is that when you come to my office, that is the one place that you can stop first. And I am going to make sure that you get everything done from the time you walk in, if you haven't applied for your benefits, to the time you walk across the stage and get your graduation certificate or your diploma. We have in place everything that you need from the time you walk out of the service until you get your your diploma. And we've set it up that way, and we want it to be a one-stop shop. If you have a problem while you're on campus, you come back to me. If I can't fix it, I will find out who can fix it. Okay? I don't want you to have to run all over campus and go from building to building to building. You come see me, you tell me what your problem is, I'll tell you exactly where you need to go and how we fix it. And so that's what I've been attempting to do.
Now, this is a fairly new resource center as far as Evergreen's history.
Oh, absolutely. Evergreen, about 8 years ago, actually 9 now, decided that they needed to study how they could better serve veterans, because they started realizing that we have a lot of troops that are going into the Middle East and coming back and wanting to go to school, and we better start thinking about how can we best serve these, because we've got a major base, one of the largest bases in the world, as a matter of fact, right on our doorstep.
Joint Base Lewis McChord, yes.
Absolutely. And so they put together a committee that was made up of faculty, staff, veterans, community, and they sat down and said, what would we have to have in place to best serve veterans? What would it look like? And so they started planning and they started looking, and one of the things that they did was they looked at the studies that were done by the Servicemen's Opportunity Colleges and the ACE organization. And one of the studies that was done by that organization looked at a couple of colleges in the country that had very successful veterans programs, and one of them was Rutgers University. And the thing that they found out was those universities and colleges that had a separate space for veterans that was dedicated to serving veterans, that they were the most successful at serving those veterans. And so that's what they set out to do. So there was 13 points that they come up with, this committee, that they recommended to the school that do, and the 13th was this center. So there's bunches of things that we do. For example, we have what's called a challenge coin that we give every veteran.
Yes, yes.
We have a ceremony at the beginning of the year in the fall, and every new veteran that comes on, we give them a challenge coin, and we say, okay, this is to remind you that you are a member of our family. And we are here to make sure you succeed. We have a ceremony every Memorial Day where we read all the names of those that have died in OEF, OIF. We have various things during the year for veterans and their families. So there's things that we do surrounding veterans that came out of this committee. And a lot of people don't even realize this. I was at JBLM up talking to them the other day, and I would tell them about the 50% waiver or the 100% waiver, or I would talk to them about this, and they'd go, are we talking about the same school, Evergreen College down the road here? And I go, absolutely. And I don't think a lot of people are aware that Evergreen has put a lot of money. They not only walk, talk the talk, they walk the walk, and they put their money where their mouth is. They've put almost $250,000 into this space with technology. There's computers in there for veterans to use if they need something copied, if they need something scanned, if they just need a place to come sit down and study. There's a refrigerator in there for them to put their lunch.
I noticed when I walked in there the other day, and there was a lot of resources for picking up, so if they needed to know something, they could scan through and pick it up.
We have a bulletin board where we put up things, and I put emails out almost every day to veterans, letting them know about job opportunities. And as a matter of fact, the Social Security Administration called up and says, we're looking for 2 veterans. We've got 2 jobs coming open. They're entry-level jobs, but they're great starting jobs if you want to get in the federal government, and 2 of our veterans got hired. And so that's the type of thing that we're trying to do. And so we're very proud of this Veteran Center and what's being done for that. Now, one of the other programs that hasn't been mentioned yet that you kind of alluded to was, what about that veteran that was a Vietnam veteran and he's used up all of his benefits, or he just forgot and didn't ever use his benefits, and he decides, well, you know, maybe I should go back to college. Well, we have a tuition waiver. If you are a veteran and you're a Washington State resident, you can go to Evergreen at half of the tuition cost.
Half the tuition.
All right. And so, and actually that 50% tuition waiver can be used for any veteran, but of course if you have benefits, the waiver is kind of a moot point. But if you're an older veteran and you're thinking about going back to school, I mean 50%, that's half your tuition.
And all they need to show is their DD-214.
That's it. You show me a DD-214 and we'll talk about getting you back in school.
Well,
and we have plenty of programs out there for veterans of all ages. I mean, you know.
And one of the things that our viewing audience will note now is we have the information of how they can contact you and where you're located in the library down in 1103, I believe it is.
Right, 1103 is my office and 1102 is the actual center. And I encourage anybody, any military member, any veteran, and I'm talking about active duty too, because we accept tuition assistance, and we have many dependents that come over there, and I encourage them just to come in and talk to me. Just, you know, even if you're just giving it a slight consideration, and let's talk about what's available, because information is power. And the biggest stumbling block I have seen is lots of people just don't know about this. They just, for some reason, don't know. Another issue that I want to make sure that your audience understands is this. If you served over 180 days in the military, okay, you are eligible for some form of educational benefit. It might not be the full 36 months, but you're eligible for some form of educational benefit. And I don't care if you served 6 months or 2 years or whatever, you're a veteran. And this money was set aside by the federal government for you and for your education. If you don't use it, it doesn't mean somebody else has more money. It just means that money goes back into the pot. It goes back into the general operating fund. So by not using it, you're not helping anybody else, but you are denying yourself an education. And I encourage you to use your benefits while you've got them.
Absolutely. Randy, how did you hear about Evergreen in this position? I know that you're from the Virginia area.
That's correct.
And so you're a transplant to the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
How did you learn about this position? Because I know you're a retired lieutenant commander in the Navy.
Right.
How did you learn about this?
Well, I taught at Everett University in Danville, Virginia. And I was talking to a veteran who had been out here. And he says, you've got to go see Evergreen. And I says, what's so special about Evergreen? He says, well, he says, and he was telling me about the education system and how good it is at teaching critical thinking and so forth and so on. And I says, how do they treat their veterans? He says, you're not going to believe that. He says, they actually treat their veterans better than any school that you could imagine. And I says, well, I got to go see this for myself. So I came out here to take a look at it. And sure enough, this guy was not buffaloing me at all. He was absolutely dead on. And I was so impressed, I says, I've got to be a part of this. I have to be a part of this, because it's a rare find to find a school that does exactly what they say they're going to do. And this school does exactly what they say they're going to do. And they take care of veterans, and they have probably one of the finest education systems I have seen in my lifetime.
Now, we have in our viewing audience not only those that are watching on Channel 22, which is our cable station here in Olympia, Washington, but we put this program on YouTube afterwards, and they may be in another state or so. Are there other institutions that have similar programs that Evergreen has that they could inquire to? Oh,
I am sure that there are other institutions that have veterans programs and that have waivers for, but I'm not sure what those percentages are. But every school has what's called a school certifying official, and you can go to that person and talk to them about using your veterans benefits. And so if you choose not to use Evergreen, which I don't expect the whole world's going to come to Evergreen, but there is an SCO at every school.
So I don't have to go to the Veterans Administration, say in Seattle, and try to figure out how do I become a student at, no, you can go right to the institution.
Go right to the institution. There's a person in that institution that can guide you in that endeavor. And then there's people like you in communities, you know, that can help too.
Well, and one of the things, Randy, that I mentioned, Mark Fleming and I do volunteer work at Coffee Strong on Fridays, where we deal with veterans and active duty that are just about to get out on what their benefits are, and we deal principally with benefits that they have for their health-related issues type of thing. But we also can help with the education benefits as well.
Right. Well, I encourage anybody that's thinking about going to school to contact me or you, and at least investigate what's available to them out there, because there's a lot of important stuff out there for them.
Well, Randy, one of the things that we're going to do now is we're going to watch some clips of the veterans that you work with on a regular basis there, and so what I'm going to do, and it'll close out our program, but we're going to have some interviews of what does it mean to be a veteran student at Evergreen who has availed themselves of your services. So I would encourage our viewing audience to watch up firsthand the testimonies, if you will, of the veterans.
Wow.
But while we do that, I want to thank you for taking the time to come in, Randy.
Well, it was a pleasure.
We want to form a partnership with the Evergreen State College, and particularly for the Veteran Service office that you have there.
Well, I look forward to it, and we look forward to working with the community and with you and everybody at helping our veterans get back into school and to come back home and to be a part of our community and a part of our state and a part of our nation.
There we go. And now we will watch our veterans. Thank you.
Well, I served in the U.S. Army, and once I got out, I knew I wanted to attend Evergreen again, because prior to joining the Army in 2009, I attended Evergreen for 1 quarter, and I realized that the GI benefits were incredibly beneficial to my long-term goals, and that the U.S. Army was a great way to reach that and other goals. So once I completed my 4 years of service, I came back to Evergreen, and it is a completely different experience now that I have the benefits and experience and leadership qualities that the Army actually gave me. Coming around to education this time, using the benefits, it's incredible. Night and day compared to what I did in 2009. I don't even feel like the same person, so it's been a great experience coming back.
Well, I'm Ty Somerville, and I'm originally from New York, a wonderful city called Yonkers, New York, which is not so wonderful. And I joined the Army in 2000. I did 11 years and 3 days before I was medically discharged. And that's pretty important to why I got to Evergreen, because I was on my way to Afghanistan, and I took a physical, like we all do before we get deployed, and Doc said, "You ready to go home?" And I said, "Heck yeah, Doc, it's 1700, let's get out of here." And he said, no, I mean, go home. And I went, yeah, my wife's waiting for me. Can you hurry up so I can get to dinner? And he said, no, I mean, back to New York. I said, I'm not going back to New York. I feel like I'm going to get away from New York. And he said, I'm sorry to tell you this, son, but the Army no longer, in his words, the Army no longer has needs for you. And I said, whoa. What do you mean? I've given my entire life. In the last 11 years, I've sacrificed everything. And what do you mean he's going to sit here in this medical office and tell me you don't need me anymore? And he said, I didn't mean to be harsh, but the reality of it is you're so beat up that we don't want to beat you up anymore. And that was kind of a bomb dropped in my lap, not to use that word lightly, but and so I was left with no plan, because I had a 22-year plan. My plan was 22 years, and I was going to be done, and I was only halfway there. And so my wife, once we moved from Arizona, which is my last duty station back here, said, why don't you try college again? And I said, lady, I love you, but you're crazy. I'm too old. I'm not going to be around a bunch of kids that I'm double their age. And she's like, well, it's not about them, it's about you. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna go get a job. I said, that works too, so I'll go get a job. And so, job interview after job interview, resume after resume, phone call after phone call, I often heard, you're overqualified. I didn't know what that meant, because in my brain, if someone's more qualified than what you need, willing to take less pay, that's to your advantage as an employer. Apparently not. And so after being frustrated with that 3-month process, I buckled down and went to community college. And once I was at community college, I was set, get my 2-year degree, go back to all these overqualified people and get a job. But then a admissions counselor met me at Green River Community College where I was going to school and told me about Evergreen. And the wonderful thing about Evergreen was the educational setup. I love the fact that we don't have to take segmented classes. You know, I have to take 4 classes, 4 sets of books, 4 sets of midterms, 4 sets of finals. You know, it was a lot more intense, but also a lot easier to digest because my brain doesn't work segmented like that. So it was a lot easier for me to understand. And once I got here, I decided that it was important for me to let other vets know about this place because I wish someone would have told me about that when I first got out of the military, out of the Army. And so now, as an admissions counselor and outreach counselor, man, my story, I'm telling that thing like I couldn't believe. I'm talking so much about this place. And it makes me feel good to see vets who feel like this is a place they can go, you know, and to see other vets, you know, that are comfortable here makes me more comfortable. And so I'm just pretty excited. I didn't think this place was real at first. You know, I was like, this can't be a real college. But it's real and I'm a part of it. So I'm really grateful that this place exists.
You bring up a great point too. Evergreen is fantastic for veterans who have been in service for a while and they're not 18, they're not 20, because the way the environment at Evergreen is set up, it's conducive for younger people to be interacting with older people, and that older experience is fused into the education in an open way. And that's one reason that Evergreen's really conducive to veterans who are not straight out of high school, because they can use that experience to the benefit of not just themselves but others.
Right. I thought when I first got here I was going to be like a father figure, and I didn't want to be that. You know, I have kids. I didn't want to have more kids, right? And the great thing of what you were saying, I don't feel like anyone's dad. I feel more like a big brother. You know, if they want advice, I'll give it. If they don't, I don't feel a need to have to be this nurturing individual, because everyone here is allowed to grow. Whereas a lot of institutions that I visited, you can already get the sense that they had a blueprint prepared for you, and you weren't allowed to have any voice. So I'm grateful that I'm not anyone else's father except my own 3 kids. You know, I like that about this place. I really do. I really do.
I'm Matt Ebarb. I was in the U.S. Navy from 2005 to 2010. I'm from Leesville, Louisiana, and I came up here largely because I was dissatisfied with the education system at my previous college, as well as how veterans and veterans benefits were handled. We didn't have anything like the Vet Center here. We had 2 people in a very, very small office who you went to, you told them what they were taking, what you were taking that quarter, and that was it. There was not a whole lot of diversity in the curriculum for non-traditional students where I came from. It was, okay, you can get a associate's in general studies, or a bachelor's in general studies, or a bachelor's in nursing, or something generic, something I didn't want to do. Whenever I was in the Navy, I was a mass communication specialist. My specialization, my field of expertise was in media, and I had invested so much time in learning that field, learning that craft. I was doing that for 40 hours a week, so I wanted to actually get my degree to, you know, make everything official. But the colleges down there didn't really have much to cater to people who were not available Monday to Friday, morning time to afternoon. Evergreen was another story. I had friends that I had served on my ship with who were going up here, and they had for a while, I think partially for their own selfish motives because they wanted another roommate, been trying to talk me into going up here. One of them actually worked here in this office. He told me about what we have here, the reputation of it, that contrary to the rumor of this being a hippie school, that they take good care of their vets here, and to all intents and purposes, they do. Since coming here, it's as you were mentioning, it's a perfect learning environment for vets, for us to both take from and give to. The way seminar, which is a big part of how we work here at Evergreen, works is everybody, even the professor, will treat you like you're a practitioner of the craft, and not I have this degree in this, so I'm going to tell you how this is going to be. The floor is usually open for everybody to share their experiences, their input, and we as vets do bring a lot of life experience, if nothing else, to the table that we can blend with the fresh perspective of somebody who is 18 right out of high school. It's as you mentioned, it's a very good environment conducive to learning for vets in a non-traditional sense.
Absolutely, because vets tend to be driven individuals. If you give them their own methods, they will go far. And Evergreen, unlike a lot of other traditional schools, allows you to take the education as far as you want. And you can go so much farther because of that. You're not caged into a certain program. You can push yourself as hard as you want to go and reap the rewards from that.
And moreover than that, you do have, with us being non-traditional students for the most part, using benefits, we come here not needing or wanting that tradition, the usual orientation that most other students get. That's why I'm glad I can be a part of this place. Why this place exists is somebody can come in here without a clue what they're doing. I'm getting discharged, or I'm retiring in this many days. How do I get started here next quarter? We can bring them in here. We can put them on this computer. We can show them where to go. We can have them set up. We can send them out of here ready to having applied for their benefits and ready to go.
I'm John. I was in the Navy. I went to 3 or 4 colleges before I came here. I went to Texas Community College, Tulsa Community College, and Santa Monica Community College. So 3. And they were all the same. Like, you go in to the VA and they say, here's a sheet of paper, here's what you need to do to get your degree. So that's it. And you go into class and here's the information we're going to learn, here's the books we're going to read, here's what the test is going to look like at the end. That's it. So you just memorize all that, you get a degree. You don't learn anything. And that always kind of bothered me. When I was in Los Angeles going to Santa Monica College, I started writing for a newspaper there, and then I got really good at doing that. So I got a job writing for a magazine that just started, and I graduated with my journalism degree, and I was really excited. I was living in LA, and I was married, and that was it. I was set. I was 25, good to go. But it wasn't making me as happy as it should have been. Like you're supposed to. You get out of the Navy, you go to college, you get married, you have a job. There you go. But it wasn't fulfilling enough. Maybe it was the Navy, like bouncing around all the time. Like I just couldn't just sit there and do this job every day. So I needed more. I was hungry for more. And a colleague of mine on the newspaper was like, I'm going to this crazy hippie college in the woods. And I was like, let's go. And I left all my cars, I left my dog, I left my house, I left everything. I just packed up. And we started living in one of those black houses, those creepy black houses. Just living in one of those rooms, and I started going to this school, and man, that was really kind of like a ballsy move, because I didn't know what I was going to do when I got here. I'm pretty sure I was going to start going to this college, but I'd always had help getting into colleges. I'd always known somebody that was like, here's the steps, really easy. But when I got here, I didn't have anybody, so I walked into the VA Resource Center, and I was like, I have no idea. I have a little bit of money in the bank. I got like a couple $100 in the bank. No idea what I'm doing. And they're like, here's the papers, here's your forms, got to get your yellow ribbon. If you apply for yellow ribbon, there's only 8 slots, and all that stuff. And it really helped me out, and I've been here ever since. As soon as I started class, I was like, what am I doing? I was in a business class, business and sustainability, And they were like, find your bliss. And I'm like, what? No, like business classes. Like, do we do numbers? And they're like, no, you have to be happy. I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought we were gonna learn business. And they're like, we are. Sustainable business though. And I was like, all right. But then I fell in love with it because it taught me a different way to learn. It wasn't learn these facts, there's gonna be a test on it in a couple months. It was change the way you're thinking in your head, and it just was amazing for me. Totally paradigm shifting, everything changed. As soon as I got it, it took me a couple months. My teacher, professor, his name's Bob. You guys know Bob? He used to work in sustainability. He's a vet, and he'd always be helping me out with my vet stuff. McIntosh.
Oh, yes.
Bob McIntosh.
Yeah.
And he would always come up to me like just randomly, like, "Hey man, do you need some help? Like, do we need to do anything? Are you good? Like, how's your finances going? I know you just moved here." Professors don't do that. That's crazy. But it was a completely different experience. So I fell in love with the way they teach you how to learn instead of just here's some facts you need to know. And so I just kept going. I found out that I don't really like working for magazines and newspapers so much. Freelance writing isn't my thing. Writing might be, but I'm definitely more into nature. I got into some like arts and science classes where I could go back outside and like reuniting with being outside. I forgot that I really liked being outside. I completely forgot. I was trying to be a grown up, and I forgot that it's okay to go outside and play sometimes. And if I can make that my career, holy crap. So, so it's way better now that I've changed how I thought I was supposed to be doing things, and not pigeonholed myself in a way that was like, here's what I have to do next. Okay, I got to follow this step program. Now I can do whatever I want. Follow my bliss. So it was right all along.
And so when I researched the class, I was like, political economy, not my thing. I'm from the hood. I'm from the projects. We don't care about politics or economy. We just want to get paid and play basketball. That's it. And so I'm sitting in this class, and he had the same thing. He did the same thing with me that your Professor McIntosh did with you. He said, no, we had to introduce ourselves, where we're from, and how much background we had. And I was like, hey, I'm from New York. The only background I had in economics is counting food stamps. And everybody was like, wow. I was like, that's it. I don't know how it works. I don't care. And he pulled me aside afterwards, and he said, you need to go read this book, because what you're about to do is totally above where you've ever been in your life. And at first I was like, what? I don't know where I've been. He was like, I'm from Queens. I was like, oh, you do know where I've been. All right. And so throughout the whole quarter, he was always like doing these benchmarks checks on me, like, hey, Ty, how you doing? You know, did you read? In my papers, he would always like, I think he was extra reading my papers more than anybody else. You understand the concepts, and it was more so of how to learn and not what to learn. And I think that's what makes Evergreen so different, for me anyway, is no one gave me a syllabus and said, you're gonna learn this. They didn't, and I was like, okay, and I asked one of my professors, I was like, dude, what are we learning? He's like, you'll see as we go along. And I was like, well, no, we can't. Who learns like that? In the military, they give you an SOP, you know, and he was like, just trust the process. And I think that's one of the more harder parts for military members and vets is trusting the process. Definitely. But like you said, a couple of months into it, I was like, I'm hooked. I'm telling everybody, I'm telling my friends, my high school mentees, I'm telling them, because the process here of learning, it forces you to develop and grow, and not just regurgitate something for a 4.0. Anybody, I tell my mentees that all the time, I got 4.0s, they're easy to do. Just memorize answers, and you get a 4.0. But when you're trying to learn a perspective and develop your own inner perspective, that's a challenging feat for people who've never had to do that. When to wake up, when to go to sleep, when to go to the bathroom, when to take a shower, when to eat, how fast to eat, where to walk. And then you come and goes, just have fun. What? Have fun with a book? I can't have fun with a book. I'm loving it. I'm loving books now. Like, I'm picking up books for no reason. And where I come from, people don't do that. So I mean, and this place has really changed my life, really. And that sounds really, kumbaya-ish, but it really has. It really. And as a parent, my kids don't have a shot. They're going to Evergreen. They already know. They're like, this is our college. They're going to Evergreen because you can go into Johns Hopkins, you can go to Yale, you can go to Harvard, you can be like everyone else. And I thought the same thing, fit that mold, right? I had the perfect, picket fence, dog, wife, kids, and then all of a sudden, it all falls apart. So what do? This place teaches you how to handle that because you're never in that restricted environment. You know, your mind just kind of shifts into, I can do anything. I can accomplish, I can take on any catastrophe that comes my way, which is a little different.
I agree with what you said there, and I think that really that aspect of Evergreen helps with the transitional part. This is a great place to come right after you've gotten out, because as you mentioned, you're still geared towards every answer to everything is fed to you on this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, this is the manual you're going to read how to do it out of. Yeah, it's learning how it's a survival instinct that's I think is almost kind of taken from you whenever you get into the military, as funny as that sounds. And it's something that Evergreen teaches you to get back very, very quickly.
It's almost like boot camp all over again.
Yes.
I told someone that I was like, from day one, I was like, whoa! Like I'm standing in front of a fire hydrant just getting flooded with freedom. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't know how to handle this. But you know, they don't just let you stand there too long. They'll let you get a couple of days of being overwhelmed, and then someone will pull you aside. And that's why this place is so great, because you come in here and it's like, okay, someone else has been through the process. They understand the transition points that as a service member I need to make these different changes, because this isn't like the military on any level. There aren't signs directing traffic saying the commissary is here. I said commissary in class one day and they were like, were you in jail? I was like, no, it's like you would call it a supermarket. We call it just like jail, but it's a little bit different.
Instead of teaching you how to follow, it's teaching you how to think.
How to think. And they even teach you how to lead, which is ironic for me coming out of the military, because the military definitely, I believe their philosophy is teach you how to follow, teach you how to lead. But even when you're a leader, you're following someone else's leadership.
Absolutely.
That's been done for hundreds of years. Here, they don't teach you how to have a position. They want you to work on inner self. And I don't know if a lot of colleges, I don't know if any that I've ever experienced, teaches you how to lead yourself. And not even forcing yourself to do those, you know, those benchmark, those blockaded things. Say, do this at 20, do this at 25, do this at 30. That timeline, it's like this place is going to develop. Kind of like a plant. A plant doesn't have any kind of timeline to development. It just, the soil, the treatment, that will determine how fast, you know, I know we have things now we inject into food and everything, but normally plants kind of grow on their own. You plant the seed, you take care of the ground, and the plant just grows. And I think Evergreen is kind of like that. The instructors here kind of plant the seed, and they kind of like let you germinate that, you know, in that development process. And then you also have, like, I call it this the home base for veterans. The VRC is kind of like, if I get into an issue where I can't really figure it out, we got mentors here that come in and say, you know, hey man, I'm struggling right now. What's going on? You're not left out there, you know, kind of figuring your own way out. You kind of have, you know, I call them battle buddies, as we call them in the military. And you got battle buddies, you can walk in this room and say, somebody's gonna be at that desk, what's going on? I don't know. But by the end of the conversation, you'll know.
There's so many resources here that I can't even keep track of them all.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of all of the resources. But what's great about Evergreen and the Veterans Center is that there are people to show you those resources.
Right.
And you know how to find those people. And when you get to them, they will help you understand what you need. Because sometimes you don't even know what you need.
Yeah. Definitely.
But the resources are there, and the ways to reach those resources are there as well.
Yeah. That was the other big draw, is knowing that, you know, there is a lot out there. There's not just some things out there. But all I have to do is connect myself to the right people. I don't have to knock on the door because someone else will knock on the door with me, you know, or show me what the door is. I'm not looking like an idiot when I knock on the wrong door. Like, you know, this the writing center? No, this is the greenery. This is where you get food. This is not where you get to oh, okay, I just see people writing. You know, because jumping out of that military ocean into the education ocean, for some people, I know for me, it was the first time I told someone, I have never been more scared in my life. I've been in Iraq, and I wasn't as scared as I was my first day on college campus. Just stood in the middle of the courtyard, watching people walk past me. Not realizing the building I need to go into was 20 feet away. And someone said, what are you doing? It was a vet rep. I was like, I need to find a library. You're standing in front of it. For real? I didn't know that. And I walk in, and from that day to this one, I'm more comfortable. But yeah, the first day, I was scared. I was like, what am I doing? I felt like I was in that movie where you're standing still and people are going by you like 1,000 miles an hour and it's blurry. It was like, wow. But now, you know, now I'm pretty confident. I'm actually pretty confident that, you know, once I get out of here, directing traffic to here would be a lot easier. I think the universal message, you can tell any veteran, whether they've been to combat, whether they've been in intense combat or diluted combat or whatever level of military service they were on, is that you can be an encouraging voice and say, hey, look, sir, ma'am, you can do this. This is not something impossible, because I think a lot of veterans feel academics are impossible because what we see and what we hear and the reputation that it has in the military. And I often tell them, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And they're like, really? And this is where this place is so great, because now you got to put your mind to something you've never put it to before. But the universal message that I always say is, you can do it. And sometimes that's the first time they've ever heard that about academics. Because as a recruiter in the Army, a lot of people join the Army weren't the smartest people in high school. That's why they joined the Army. You know, if they could go to college, they probably would have went to college. But you joined the Army, or the military in general, the Navy, because you probably didn't think you were smart enough to go to college. And now you're probably at that same point. Like, man, I wasn't smart enough at 17. Now I could be 27 and still think, I'm not smart enough. But you are, especially here at Evergreen. You don't have to be brilliant to be successful. And I don't know if a lot of people understand that about college in general, but at Evergreen, you know, my message is, you can do it, and this is not about you being smarter. This will teach you how to develop your knowledge. So, I mean, it's worked. A lot of the vets that I talk to, well, I don't say a lot, almost all, when they get that look in their eye that they can't really, they don't really feel confident, and they hear that message that you can do this, and then I often say, you will do it. I'm not gonna let you quit. You owe me success, because I've sat through a 30-minute conversation. Now you owe me success. And because the 4.0 scale doesn't exist here, it's a lot easier for them to see themselves successful. And I think if you paint that picture and put them into painting and say, this is you crossing the stage, this is you with your diploma, this is you cap and gown if you wear it. You know, here we don't, you know, you want to take a picture. When I was a recruiter, we put them in a uniform. Take your picture. This is what you'll look like in a uniform. And so I try to paint the same picture now. Cap and gown, your family crying, you going to dinner afterward, you know, whatever it is. And that seems to work. That seems to help them transition.
If you want options, and if you want room to breathe, and if you want to learn how to think in a way that hasn't been dictated to you, Evergreen is a fantastic option.
This is a place where you're allowed to grow and take advantage of the opportunity to grow. Don't be afraid of growth. Growth does not mean you were inadequate. Growth means that you were adequate enough to become bigger and better than what you were. And this place will allow you to live beyond your limitations.
There's a little bit of something here for everybody. And as we were talking about earlier, I know college may come off as something that you might think you can't do. Yes, you can. People in your position do it every day. They do it right here. So come on, and if you need anything, we got your back.
Yeah.
I think the school carries a very heavy hippie stigma, especially coming from outside the state. I didn't know what it was. I just heard third hand about it. When I told my family when I was going to school, they were all like, what? Why would you do that? But I think you need to get past that and come see what it's actually about. That's the big, like, you just put your feet in and do it. Otherwise you can go off of what other people say, but until you actually go to school and see what it's actually about, it doesn't make any sense till you're here. And once you're here and you start changing the way you learn, it's completely paradigm changing.
Soldiers, speak out. We can tell the truth of what we've seen. We are not liars. Soldiers, speak out. We have a duty to all children and to their futures.